I've coached lifters at every level, from local meets to the world stage. And most first-timers make the same mistakes. Whether you're a beginner or just looking to improve your meet day game, this video will walk you through how to show up prepared and confident to crush PRs on the platform.
In this video, I'm going to break down how to have a great meet into 3 simple parts. Number 1, choosing the right competition. Number 2, preparing the week or 2 before to make sure you're in shape properly for the competition. And then part 3, what should you bring to the competition to ensure you have the best chance at success? Part 1, choosing the right competition. Choosing your first competition should be a very simple and stress-free process. Many athletes that I've worked with and many athletes I've seen over the years will get focused on the idea that they have to be a certain level of strength or a certain ability level before they even think about entering a competition. Nothing could be further from the truth. You don't need to be a certain level of strength before you pick a meet. You should just get focused on the idea that when you finish training cycles, they end at competitions. You want to be ready to go to a competition and have a good time and enjoy yourself to see if you even enjoy the sport after the first training cycle. So I would highly recommend that you pick a local competition that's near to where you live, so it's not a lot of travel, it's easy to get to, and should be surrounded by people that are probably familiar with you or people maybe at your gym that you already know. If you're lucky enough to be at a competition or at a gym that has competitions, go ahead and pick something like that, because you're going to be in a spot where you're probably going to be coached by somebody who's local to you, or you're going to be around people you've already known, so it'd be a more familiar scenario. The second thing is get set on realistic goals. Don't think that your first meet has to be the meet you do that qualifies you for the nationals, or you're not going to qualify for the Olympic Games at your first local meet. Your local meet and your first competition should really be something that doesn't even revolve exactly around numbers or PRs or anything. It's just an experience to know what it's like to do the first competition, to get familiar with the competition rules, the way the organization operates, the way it runs, exactly how good your lifts are in the competition standard, and just execute 6 lifts in a way that makes you feel positive about your training and positive about the outcome. But nothing should be high pressure. You don't want to go into a competition with a bunch of expectations that I have to hit this number, or I'm going to do this, and if I hit this number and I cut weight and I do all these things, then I'm going to finally be, my dad's going to finally come back home from the store and bring that pack of smokes home and we're going to be great together. That's not going to ever happen. But what you should focus on is going to a competition and having a good time, enjoying yourself, and participating in the sport in the way that it's intended. The third thing here is a much smaller part and really not super necessary, but something I recommend is understand the rules before you go to the competition. Take time the week before or a few days before to just skim through and read the rule book, understand what's expected of you, understand what you're going to need to do, how the rules operate. You don't need to be a category 1 referee or anything, but you should understand what it's like when, you go to weigh-ins. How long after weigh-ins do you have till you actually have to compete? What is the process? Who goes first when a lifter is called? What happens when you change attempts? All of these things are good to understand. Even if you have a coach, I highly recommend you take time to just familiarize yourself with the rules and the operation of how a competition actually goes, so you don't get into a scenario when you're at the meet and things feel like very confusing, very overwhelming. You should have a good handle on exactly what a weightlifting competition looks like, how it runs, and what's expected of you at the event. Preparing the week before. And this really could be as far out as 2 weeks before, but you've done your whole training cycle and now you're ready to compete. The last couple of weeks going in, or the last week going in, you're going to be tapering. If you have a coach, they've probably got a plan for you. If you're on your own, maybe you've written a taper for yourself. But know that last couple of weeks going to the competition is really when it all starts. Don't start adding on more and more stress, more and more things that last couple of weeks before the event. You don't want to start thinking more and more about other stuff or piling on things like looking through the start list and looking through the things that are in the meet and who's going to here and who's going to be there, and if I just do 1 kilo more here, or if I cut weight and I go to this and I beat this guy, then I'll be the best guy in the tri-state area under 37 years old who has a day job. None of those things matter at your first event. Just think about those last couple of weeks going into the competition being a relaxing event, a focused time where you're getting rid of any extra stress you have and just dialing in on the program, whatever your taper is, however your coach is peaking you, however your program is peaking you, do those things. Do not do extra. You're not going to get stronger the last week or two before the meet. Do what is planned, and then focus on making sure you're getting extra sleep, your nutrition is on point, you're ready to go, and you feel confident and comfortable going to the actual competition itself. Quick announcement. I recently opened up 5 new spots for my one-on-one remote coaching. If you've been waiting to work with me to get stronger, improve your technique, or hit that next PR you've been chasing, here's your chance. I love working with enthusiastic lifters who want to put in the work and get better no matter your age or experience level. So if that sounds like you, then click the link in the description to book your free consultation call with me, and let's see if it's a good fit. Part 3 is going to be me covering a list here of what I would bring to the actual competition event. You want to think about preparing yourself ahead of time so that when you get to the competition, you've already done all the training, you've peaked and you've tapered really well, you're in a good spot physically and mentally, you're ready to go. But then what do you actually bring with you to the event so that you're not stuck in a place where you forgot a belt or shoes or whatever? Can I bring extra food with me? What am I going to eat in between the snatch and clean and jerk? All these little things are kind of the practical stuff that's really important, that you want to have a checklist for yourself when you get to the competition. You're prepared. You've got maybe a little extra of some of the stuff you need, so you're not worried about having to run around in the middle of snatches and clean and jerks and buy a bit of food, or maybe you get to a competition where there is no food available and you have to get in your car and drive somewhere, and then that's tons of extra stress and totally unnecessary. So let's go through a list of what I would bring and I would prepare for to bring to the competition so that you're in the best possible shape you can be and you have everything ready at your fingertips on the day of the meet. The mandatory stuff. Number 1 is going to be a singlet, okay? Doesn't really matter exactly what it is. There's a bunch of fancy singlets out there. You can buy them anywhere you want. Just make sure that whatever singlet you buy is legal within the competition rules. For weightlifting, this might change here and there, but basically, there's a bunch of reputable places to get a singlet from, and those singlets are all going to probably work. Just make sure you don't buy like a Borat bathing suit and show up thinking you're going to lift and have a great time. Number 2, obviously, your shoes, right? Bring your weightlifting shoes. As much as this needs to be said, or doesn't need to be said, it's many times I've seen competitions or I've seen events where people forgot their shoes. One thing I will mention as a caveat to all of this, maybe for a more advanced person, or if you're traveling to a competition, if you're going on a flight, make sure all of the things on this list that you pack, put them in a carry-on bag so they're with you at all times. Many times I've seen lifters travel to a national level event and put all their stuff in a checked bag, and then the bag gets lost on the airline. They get to the competition and they have nothing that they need to lift, and it's a very unsettling experience. Number 3, belt. Not everybody wears a belt. If you do wear a belt, make sure you bring it. This is something that should be packed in your bag at all times. Make sure that you have the belt you use in training. Don't think that there's going to be a belt at the meet. Don't switch belts and wear your buddy's belt because you didn't want to pack it or you didn't know where it was or you lost it. Make sure you have exactly the same equipment that you're training in with you at the competition. Number 4, going to be wrist wraps, okay? If you wear wrist wraps, make sure you have them with you, same as the belt. Make sure all of your lifting stuff is in the same order that it should be, just like I said with the belt. Wrist wraps are obviously there. Not everybody wears them, but if you do, bring them with you. Number 5 would be like knee sleeves. So knee sleeves, again, with knee sleeves, and this is a recommendation I'd make mostly to weightlifters, don't switch the knee sleeves to brand new super stiff ones the day before the competition because you think you're going to get a little bit extra power out of them or pop out of them. This isn't powerlifting. You don't need that. Wear the same equipment. Bring the exact same equipment you've just lifted in for the last training cycle. Make sure that you don't start adding brand new equipment you just got the day before because you think it's going to be better. Just bring the same stuff you've been training in. That's the ideal scenario. 6 would be tape. If you wear tape on your thumbs, on your wrist, wherever, bring that with you. Make sure, again, it's the same brand you've been using. Don't switch to the new brand you bought off Amazon or off your favorite weightlifting supply place, and all of a sudden, now I bought the expensive tape, I'm gonna use it at the meet, and then you find out it's not as sticky, or it's stickier, or it's weird. and everything feels weird, okay? Again, same exact thing you've been doing for the last 12 weeks or however long it is going into the competition. And then number 7 is basically just warm-ups. You want to bring something to wear over your singlet so that you can stay warm. It's really common to see people show up to a competition and they've got a t-shirt and shorts on and a singlet under that, and that's it. And then in the competition, they're sitting around, they're getting cold, they're not warm. So I would say just bring something like warm sweatpants and a hoodie or something similar to that, a tracksuit. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. I've seen people wear huge Snuggie blankets. We went to a competition, as a side note, we went to a competition in Vegas where it's super hot all the time. And one of the female athletes I was coaching showed up and she had a giant Snuggie with her. And I kind of laughed at her. At first I was like, oh, that's funny. Why would you bring that? It's Vegas. And she said, wait till we get inside. And then realized, yeah, everything is super, super air conditioned in Las Vegas. And you're in a giant warehouse that's air conditioned. And it got so cold inside there that everyone who didn't have some kind of nice warm up was really suffering and they were freezing. So be aware of where you're going, but always be prepared. Bring something to stay warm so that in between attempts you can throw it over your legs or you can throw it on if you need to. Make sure you're in a good spot as far as being prepared for the times in between lifting as well. So now that you've brought all the proper athletic attire, the things you're gonna need to actually do the sport on the platform, you wanna think about the personal items you're gonna bring with you, okay? So this is just outside of belts and shoes and whatnot. This is gonna be stuff that's just important to have on you. So the number one thing I'd make sure you bring is any kind of paperwork, right? Bring your papers with you. Basically, it just means make sure you have your membership card with you so you know whether you're registered, make sure that's up to date. So you have your USAW or whatever country's federation card you need to show your membership so you can actually compete. You're gonna wanna bring registration, proof that you entered the meet. Any of these things, make sure you have that ahead of time so it's not a stressful event where you get there and then you've gotta look it all up on your phone and you're missing weigh-ins because you're waiting for a bunch of things, you're trying to download it, maybe there's no Wi-Fi. Just get it all prepared, have it ready with you. If you need to save pictures of it on your phone and bring it with, that's probably the easiest thing. Some people prefer to print things out, but for those of us born after 1951, then we're not gonna need to do that. Number 2, pretty simple, but I would say bring some kind of a water bottle, or big jug of water. You don't know if there's going to be any facilities at these events, at these local meets, gyms that are in warehouses. You don't know if they're going to have any kind of these facilities to provide water and hydration, any kind of thing like this. They might have nothing. I've been to plenty of competitions that were at gyms and all they had was a drinking fountain that was like a 5-gallon bucket of water, and then that ran out, the first hour and a half. And then everyone's looking for water bottles. So you have to get in your car and drive to a gas station. Just pack all that stuff ahead of time. Bring ample amounts of water. It's never gonna hurt to have a couple of extra bottles in your car or a couple extra bottles in your bag. Bring plenty of hydration with you so you don't get into a spot where you're trying to find it somewhere else. Number 3, snacks. This is a double-edged sort of sword here. With snacks, I would suggest you bring some snacks with you to eat during the competition, but be aware that you don't need to fuel up and bring an entire Halloween-style buffet of candies and a 5-pound bag of Sour Patch Kids and a 2-pound bag of gummy bears and yard-long Snickers bar. I think I actually saw one of these at a meet once. Just bring enough snacks that would last you through a normal training session, right? Maybe a small piece of candy, a candy bar, or some Sour Patch Kids or something like that. But bring the snacks you normally eat during a competition so that you have something extra if you need it. Again, be prepared, bring a little bit extra, but you certainly don't need to bring grocery bags with you to the competition full of different stuff. The worst thing you can do as far as snacks go is shop for these snacks when you're hungry or if you're cutting weight. Now, granted, if this is your first meet, you probably shouldn't be cutting weight, but don't go ahead and buy all this stuff when you're hungry and maybe, in a place where everything in the grocery store looks good and you load up. And I can't tell you how many times I've taken people to competitions and they went to the grocery store beforehand and bought every single thing you could imagine. They had, mountains of different snacks and chips and candies and all this, and 1% of it gets eaten during the competition. they get home and they just have a bunch of extra stuff they don't need. So make sure you just bring what is gonna be useful to you and only that. Number 4 is gonna be a caffeine drink, or a pre-workout. So 2 things about this. One, if you don't take pre-workout or you don't do a lot of caffeine in training, do not do it at the competition, okay? Do exactly what you would do on a normal heavy day of training. On the second side here is make sure that whatever pre-workout you're taking is approved by the sport, that it's not containing banned substances. That shouldn't be a big problem. In this case, most things are not gonna have a bunch of banned substances in them. But at the same time, just make sure you check that, make sure it's approved, and make sure that whatever you bring is something you're used to taking. If you've been drinking Monster energy drinks every day on Friday before your heavy day, and you show up to the competition, and all of a sudden you decided to buy, whatever insane, pre-workout there is and take 4 scoops of it, you're probably gonna have a much worse day because everything is just completely different than you expect, okay? So caffeine or pre-workout, do what you normally do in training, bring exactly the same thing. A couple of other things, I would say something like a towel or a change of clothes. And really the towel is more so, bring something because if it is really hot and you're sweating a lot, you wanna be able to wipe off your face. You wanna make sure that you're feeling comfortable. This is basic stuff that is not a huge deal, but I would suggest bringing these extra things because you're just gonna be in a spot where when it's uncomfortable and you're sweating and it's hot and you wanna just wipe off your face so you don't get sweat in your eyes when you're lifting, it's gonna be good. A change of clothes, in my opinion, is always valuable because you never know if you get everything filthy, dirty, and covered in chalk or spill a bunch of, pre-workout and everything. Like, you wanna have some extra clothes so you're comfortable for after the meet, or if you need to put something on in between snatch and clean and jerk, you don't, put on some kind of syrupy, sticky pants or whatever. Just be prepared, bring a little bit of extra stuff with you. And then finally, something that is really just a personal thing, but that would be bring your headphones. I used to be kind of against listening to music in training. This is 20 years ago when I was a young man. And the reality is a lot of people are going to use headphones. It's probably a great way to isolate yourself from the noise and confusion and chaos that's happening at a competition. So if you do train with headphones or earphones or whatever, bring those with you, make sure you have them ready to go. If you don't, it might still be a good practice to bring something like that and just use it as a way to sort of keep yourself from getting overwhelmed by all the stuff going on at the competition. Bring something like that so you can be relaxed, prepared. If you do need to sit for a few hours before you compete or after weigh-ins, you can go and kind of move to a quiet corner and kind of remove yourself from all the stimulation happening at the competition. And just some miscellaneous things we'll kind of quickly go through here that I would think about bringing with you. Number 1 would be an ID or a passport. That's going to be dependent on where you go. If you're in Europe, you're probably traveling across countries, you might need that with you. So any kind of documentation that's important there. In the United States, you're not going to need to show much of that, but definitely bring your ID. I think everybody carries their ID with them, or I would think so. So yeah, that's one thing. Another would be bring some chalk with you. I know this seems kind of silly, but you don't know how many competitions I've been to where the chalk ran out, or the chalk they had at the meet was really bad. And it was like a floury, non-sticky, didn't really work kind of chalk. Always bring good chalk with you. If you don't use it, no harm, no foul, but if you have it, it's great when you need it. Third would be Band-Aids. Bring any kind of first aid stuff or Band-Aids because you don't know what's gonna happen. If you tear a callus or you tear something, especially when you're done with a competition, you want to take care of that right away and leave with it. So bring something like that, first aid equipment. 4 would be a phone charger. I know this seems kind of maybe a little bit detailed, but bring that stuff with you. If you are competing later in the day and you've been sitting there with your team for a few hours and your phone's dying and then you're suddenly stressed out because you have all your warm-ups on your phone, you've got everything on your phone, your mom and dad are calling you from your phone, well, probably just your mom, but then if you get there and you find out that, hey, I'm gonna lose my battery, it's gonna die right before I lift, I can't get videos of my lifting, that's gonna be extra stress you don't need, so bring a charger, make sure you have it fully charged and ready to go. Then a couple other basic things that you kind of rattle off, bring some kind of a pen and a notebook or an app. If you do use an app to record your lifts or to track your training, I think this is kind of an overlooked thing. A lot of people don't actually do anything at a competition as far as tracking what they did, how the warm-ups went. I would highly recommend that you record your warm-ups, write them down in a book or put them in an app and then actually list off exactly what you're feeling on those warm-ups as you're warming up, so you can get a better sense of how to perform better at the meet. Don't just go there and then randomly do a bunch of warm-ups, end the meet, and then think about how, oh, I missed this clean and jerk, and so my whole training is bad, and blah, blah, blah. Write this down. Keep track of it. You can hand it to your coach. You can look at it later and reflect on it. It's a good practice to have that, that process. And then any kind of mobility stuff. So, mobility, so like a foam roller, any kind of, lacrosse ball, whatever you need to warm up effectively, rubber bands, all these little accoutrements. These things are important to bring with because you don't know what's going to be at the competition. You have no idea what the other gyms have, so make sure you bring all the stuff you need. That covers pretty much everything as far as what kind of stuff I would bring with me to the competition, what kind of stuff as a checklist you should bring with yourself. Then when you're ready to go, all you have to do is grab your bag the day you compete, throw it in your car, jump in someone's car, whatever it is, and go to the competition, and you know you're ready, you're prepared. It's gonna take all that stress away from you. So when you show up, you feel ready and you feel competent and you're ready to make big lifts and have a really, really great time. The final piece I'll say is just a quick, brief discussion of some basic strategy for the competition. Obviously, a much bigger video could be done on attempt selection, but what I would recommend is for attempt selection, for your actual competition, make sure you've got a plan. Show up with a plan. Think about what lifts you're gonna be doing in the competition. Write out a full, detailed plan of all your warm-ups so you can hand that to your coach. You should know everything from the bar all the way to your third attempt in each lift as far as what you're going to take. Have contingency plans written out as well. If you're gonna open at 90 kilos in the snatch, and then if you miss that, what's the next attempt? If you make it, what's the attempt after that? Just plan this stuff out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you have this plan, it's much easier to think less at the meet and just focus on your lifting, give it to your coach, and make sure you're ready there. A couple recommendations about attempts at your first meet. They don't matter. No one's gonna care what you lift at your first meet. You shouldn't care that much about what you lift at your first meet. Just focus on making 6 lifts and enjoying the process and getting familiar with what it's like to actually do lifts on the platform. If you're going to a competition and you're thinking all about big numbers, and you go and you find out that all your jerks are press outs because you've never adhered to the standard, then it doesn't matter how much you miss, right? All we care about is making good lifts and having a great competition. So be a little conservative, focus on ending your last snatch and clean and jerk with weights you've already done probably a few times. You don't have to hit PRs at the meet, just have a good meet, enjoy it. 6 for 6 is the goal, and then focus on the next one after that, get back to training and enjoy the sport. If you enjoyed this content, like and subscribe, and check out my next video on visualization and how to have your best competition ever.